Okay. Well, we're on. We're going for it. That's awesome. Okay. Welcome to Keep the Vision, a podcast created to discuss all things personal development. My name is Alan Inglis, and I'm joined by my co-host William O'Donnell. Good evening, William. How are you, my friend?
Good evening, Alan. Been very excited about starting the podcast with yourself, and hope everybody that's listening gains a lot of knowledge from this.
Excellent. That sounds great, William. Thank you. So, for those of you that have tuned in for the first episode, William and I first discussed the idea of this podcast just over a year ago, just prior to lockdown. We are both members of the Glasgow Mindstore group, and I've been a member for about 3 years now. William for a fair bit longer than that, and the work that we do, we're both very much inspired by the tools and techniques that we share within the group, and it seemed to be kind of a natural thing for us to want to do, to kind of share those tools and techniques that we learn. Would you say that was a fair comment, William?
Yeah, just with obviously just like-minded people. We sort of just like the process of mind storing, what it's brought for us, and just personal development in general for anyone listening. I think it's if anybody wants to touch on the mind store, there's a lot of stuff out there online that you can check it out. Or what me and Alan will do with this is we'll give you a lot of references to things that's helped us become successful in our lives and inspired us. So absolutely, the mind store platform has been great for ourselves, isn't it, Alan, to kind of learn different techniques. The importance of meditation and visualization, and that's the reason we've decided to call this the Keep the Vision podcast. So we'll basically touch on different things, how we can, tell you different ways about how to use imagination, and keep the vision, and because it's so important to have a goal in life, or goals, should I say?
Yeah.
And that's something that me and Alan are hoping to achieve with this. And this has been a goal of ours, so we're looking forward to sharing a lot of great content with everyone that's listening out there.
Awesome. That's perfect, William. Thank you for that. Certainly for me, I discovered Jack Black's original Mindstore book back in 2014. I took it on holiday with me, read it from cover to cover, and I thought, wow, this is fantastic. This is the sort of thing that I need. But got back home and I didn't do anything about it. But the following year, Jack held a Best of Mindstore course at the Glasgow Concert Hall, a 1 day course, and again blew my mind, and it completely resonated with me. And not only the personal development stuff, but he was also touching on distance healing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the second course I went on later on that year was in fact more focused on the distance healing, and that course was the extreme mindfulness course.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that was the first time that I started to put the Mindstore principles into practice, and it's probably, for want of a better description, my favourite part of Mindstore.
Mm-hmm.
I like being able to clearly apply a technique that's very powerful, and I'm sure in future episodes I can go into more detail about that. And then I think when things really kick-started for me, William, was when I attended my third Mindstore course, Whispers with Giants, and that really kick-started my Mindstore lifestyle, if you like, way of life. And it was a month after that course that I joined up with the Glasgow Mindstore group, and that was the evening that I met you and all the other members that I'm very good friends with now. What about your journey into Mindstore, William? Can you tell us a
Yeah,
bit
that's
about
quite
that?
inspiring what you said. I've spoke to you about the Whispering with Giants thing before. I know how much a difference that made to you in particular. My journey was quite a long time ago, Alan. It was actually way back in 2004, the Royal Concert
Yeah,
Hall as well. So I'm
yeah,
going back a few years. I was quite young at the time. I was only 23. So
yeah. Wow.
I think back then I was at a little bit of I don't know if I'd say a crossroad in my life, but I think I was like trying to turn professional at snooker. You know, there was guys that maybe was a little bit above my level, I think, at that time. So I think I needed to do more than practice. Basically, I had to improve my mindset, and I had to basically just, if I'm being honest, kind of grow up in a sense. I think I was kind of late starter. I wasn't immature in a sense, but I think I had to really learn things that I didn't really had a short attention span when I was younger. So I think that when I got older, I feel as if I was sort of still learning a lot of things that I should have learned when I was younger. But anyway, get back to the point about the course. I was yeah, it was a massive thing for me because wasn't in a good place then, and I had to really dig deep and go and research things. But I think, as you know yourself, Alan, when you start this personal development journey, you go to try and maybe improve a certain area of your life. But I think you start to really dig deep with it, and you start to learn more about yourself.
Yeah,
And I think that was the biggest thing that I got out. I was going to try and improve my snooker and trying to improve that side of things, but I knew I had to improve myself. And probably some of the greatest advice I've ever had is work harder on yourself than you do in your job. And I carry that quote forward every day.
yeah,
And I'm always trying to learn to this day different things. But yeah, so my journey started from there. And like you say, we got up to steps for the monthly meetings and very inspiring people. And if anybody's listening, hope you're all doing good, guys. All the guys in the group. So no, listen, great people that run it, like George and Tom. That they're normally the guys that run it most months, and a lot of people. It's too many to mention, but it's fantastic, isn't it? So we go up every month and we do something every month. We've got an agenda and we always do a meditation. And you and Tom are fantastic with the guided meditations and stuff. And you've been a big one for the what was it you done, Alan? Was it you done the Wheel of Life, but you've done a lot of different things. Some of the projects you've done, some of the
yeah,
prints the things
yeah.
you printed
Just
for the group.
yeah, just before we went into lockdown, I'd started doing back to basics. So I was
Yeah.
essentially taking Jack's original book and not, I guess, in a way, summarising each chapter, um, condensing it in a way that it could be presented within a 15-20 minute slot within the group session. And then when the classes went online during lockdown, and obviously we're still doing them online, I continued that like up until throughout the summer. And that
Hmm.
seemed to be very well received. And as things turn out, I took it up to when we start to program goals, and within the next couple in the next month in April, there'll be 2 Monday evenings when Craig Davidson and I will be presenting programming sessions in
Hmm.
using traditional Mindstorm methods. So I'm looking forward to that. Craig and I have been meeting up recently for our own kind of goal buddy sessions, which I'm really enjoying. And again, for anyone that's listening in the group, and for anyone else for that matter, I would say that we all, I'm sure we all have a vision, we all have a goal, and I think sometimes if you're on your own, maybe you need a wee bit of encouragement on some days. So I would say if you find a goal buddy, it's setting someone that you can meet up with every week, whether it's through Zoom or just a phone call. I think that helps to keep the momentum going, and you can just encourage each other. You know what life's like. Some weeks you have a great week, some weeks you don't. But when you've got someone to share that with, I think it takes the load off a little bit. And I
Hmm.
think it's also nice just to share a goal with someone. And I think we're also drawn naturally to people as well. Like I feel from day one, I felt that with yourself, William, and here we
Mm-hmm.
are doing a podcast kind of thing. It's, for me, it's fantastic, I never would have thought that I'd
Yeah,
be doing a podcast,
brilliant.
so it's great.
Yeah,
So,
just that's great, Alan. Just a couple of points that you made there I'll touch on. I think that's great. The goal buddy thing is, I think a lot of guys are a bit apprehensive about maybe sharing too much information with maybe their close friends or whatever,
yeah,
and you feel as if maybe they feel as if guys are always competing with each other, but I think there's a lot of momentum now for men, like a lot of groups now, like people are getting together and, like you say, this buddying up and just supporting each other and encouraging each other, because everybody's individuals in this world, we all want different things, so it's we should all
yeah,
just help and support each other, and like you say, like me and you do, because me and you have shared quite a lot with each other over the years and stuff, and I know the amazing work that you've done with your photography and your personal life and things. So, no, fantastic. So, no, that's a great idea. Just on myself regarding the Mind Store stuff. I was big in the vision boards. Were you there the meeting when I done the vision boards?
I was indeed. Yeah, fantastic.
So that was a big thing at the Mind. So if anybody's listening that wants a bit of information in this, basically the idea came from The Secret. If anybody's ever watched The Secret, one of the entrepreneurs that actually placed a vision board in his house about everything that he wanted to achieve, from relationships to the car he wanted to drive to the house he wanted to own, holidays, experiences, everything, and he put it on a vision board. And the idea in the process is look at it every day and get into this sort of state of mind that you've actually acquired this and you've achieved this. So, and that will build desires, or that will trigger new possibilities and ideas. Things will happen throughout the day, that might give you an idea. Oh, I need to do this to achieve that. But you've got to, like, as we say in the podcast, Alan, the reason we've called this, you've got to keep the vision.
That's it. Number
So,
one. Yeah,
very, very important, to focus on a vision that you want to achieve, but make your commitment to that vision. So you do that before you plan anything. So that's the most critical thing. And you just, anybody that's listening to this, do your own research into this. All the great minds have thought like this, and then plan out how you will get there. But a lot of people put too much emphasis onto the planning stage. So you've got to keep that vision,
yeah,
and then plan how you'll get there. But ultimately, you've got to take action, because ideas without action leads to delusion, as they say. So, so
oh,
at the end of the day, if you don't act on all this information, all this knowledge, it can make you worse, because you've got all this great ideas and insight, and if you don't act on it, then that's the thing. You've got to
yes,
act. You've just, they say, what's that quote I learned? Life happens on the edge of the comfort zone, I think. So it's like you've got to push through a few barriers in life to get things. So I think it's don't stay still in life is always my sort of motto. Always sort of keep pushing yourself and keep challenging yourself, because I've just turned 40, and I think that's a sort of, they say life begins at 40. So
yeah.
I can also, it's I'm still trying to do more in life, sort of thing. So yeah, just a bit of insight for anybody that's listening regarding vision boards. It's something very, very powerful.
No, that's excellent. And like you say, um, you need to take action. Um, for for me, with regarding the vision boards, I guess I use that when I create my goals, and I use program planners or goal planners. And like you say, if you're looking to, either attract a new car, new house, not only do you have your vision of the kind of house you want, but you've actually got to um, feel, you know, start to create elevated emotions
Mm-hmm.
and feel as if you already have the house, you already have the car, or
Yeah.
any other subject that you're interested in, and new job, that change of career, that kind of thing, and it's all about increasing that vibration, to connect to that energy field that's around us, that kind of thing. But it doesn't happen overnight. You have to do work at it, as you've just said, William. So thanks for bringing that up.
No, just on that, Alan, it's a great point because, as I said, although the vision is important, like you say, but the vibration, feeling it. So, it's you've got to kind of try to, like we've done for years, you've got to believe that you've already achieved it, haven't you? So
Yeah.
just get the feelings in your body that would be. So, I'll touch on a little point if that's okay regarding that, because one of my big goals was doing a skydive years ago, and it was a big fear of mine. And regarding the vision, and I programmed it that much in my mind that when I was up in that plane, I thought, when I started thought I was going to do this, I thought I'd be terrified, absolutely terrified. But there was a bit of calmness about me because, like you say, Alan, that I'd actually, the vibration in my body, I was putting myself mentally in the place of doing it for years.
Yeah.
For absolutely years, I wanted to do this, and I kept putting it off. So maybe that's a little bit of insight for people that have got a fear that they want to overcome. If you put your mind to it, you can overcome it. So, and that was something that I had a big fear over, and that was something that was right out of my comfort zone, as you can imagine. So everybody's, has got a fear, or maybe it's a commitment, or leaving a job or something like that. So, hopefully anybody's listening can sort of maybe get a bit of inspiration behind that, because I still can't believe I'd done that to this day, but it just shows you that things can be done through the power of thought.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. I think you've also got, in addition to programming goals, we all have, generally we need to get up to go and do some work, whether that's at home or these days it is mostly at home, but whether you're on location or at home and you're working, if you just get up and go straight out to work, there are challenges that you're going to meet throughout the day. And certainly one of the things I've learnt from applying MindStore techniques, and just to reassure people, I don't do this every single day. I would like to be disciplined enough to do that, and I know that when I am disciplined enough to do that, things just work out that bit easier. But the point I was going to make is, if you just get up, go out and do your day job, things happen. And I think if you're unprepared, a bit stressed out, you'll react to situations, and you might say the wrong thing, or you might do the wrong thing by making the wrong decision. And what I've learnt through doing a meditation before I go to work, if you know roughly, what your working day is going to entail, visualize how you want it to unfold. And it's not always going to go like that, but most of the time I find that it does. It improves my confidence when I'm dealing with other people. That kind of thing is something I really notice. But if you do come across a situation where it's unexpected, then you respond to the situation with a wee bit more thought behind it, and because you're relaxed, you can take a more considered approach, and solve the problem much more amicably. I'm not going to try and say that again.
No, it's great.
So these are things just popped into my head just now, William. So.
Yeah, great advice, Alan. So just on that, I'll maybe ask you a couple of questions. So when you would do your programming your day, you would imagine yourself responding to challenging situations, for example, how you would respond to speaking to a client, or or any, whatever, how your day unfolds.
Yes.
How your attitude is, for example, how you're responding to sort of challenging days, or like you say, it's a great point, because a lot of people, they'll just get out of bed and jump in the car and moan because there's too much traffic or the weather. Or, you've got to be prepared before you start your day. It's like I say, preparation is key.
It's all for me. it's all about energy, you know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I know this is something we hear a lot, but it's so true. It's so pertinent. You know, where you put your attention is where your energy goes. You know, so by taking 5 minutes to sit down and do, let's just say, for example, a basic head to toe relaxation, you know,
Mhm.
immediately, you know, your heart rate, your mind's a lot calmer, and you know the stress levels are lowered before you even step out the door. Surely that's a great way to start the day. You know. On top of that, if you visualize, how you would like your day to unfold,
Mhm.
as I said, for what that does for me is it just gives me a confidence, to deal with clients that I'm going to meet, that I'm going to photograph. Most people, thankfully, are easy to work with, but now and again, there are some clients that are not so easy to work with. And I absolutely know for a fact that through the Mind Store work, I can deal with those situations much more calmly. And if it still
Yeah.
doesn't work out the way I'd like to have done, I don't go away and beat myself up about it. You know,
Mhm.
I accept it for what it is and just let it go. You know,
No,
um,
that's great wisdom, because I think a lot of people maybe they do the opposite, that they react to situations, or or try to change other people, and you can't change other people. You can only do the best for yourself. You can only
yeah,
change, like you say, you prepare yourself properly in life. I've got a lot of respect for you, Alan. You've achieved big things because of just your character. So I mean, it's great. A lot of people learn from what you've said there, and take that forward, because let's say you've got to prepare yourself as best as possible to be the best version of yourself. And everybody wants to be that. You don't want to be this person that's struggling in life, or complaining, and sort of just angry or frustrated about things. I know we've had a challenging year over the last year, and we'll touch on that if you want. Like you say, there's a lot of people in challenging situations. But I think it's, because we've got a bit of insight into everything we do with personal development, you've got to put things into perspective. I mean, you know, maybe I'm super positive, I know that, but I think it's obviously, like, just now, it's like you've got to, everybody's in the same position. There's a lot of people worse off than yourself, so you've got to think to yourself, you've got your health, you've got people behind you. Use technology like this to your advantage. People are actually getting stronger relationships with their parents and other people, because they think, I took it for granted that I used to just go and visit my brother or my sister, or my any family member whenever I wanted. And sometimes people maybe lose touch with certain people. So I think there's a lot of people are building connections with family members through all this, or their perspective is changing for the
yes,
better,
absolutely,
and they're
yeah,
being more grateful, because we touch a lot in gratitude, don't we, Alan?
yeah,
So,
absolutely, yep,
so I know
yeah,
it's gratitude, something you practice as well, isn't it?
yeah. I use a journal, which was gifted to me recently, and yeah, I would say that certainly this year I've upped my game in terms of gratitude, and you know it can be the smallest things, but for me, just taking a note of not overthinking it, so get up in the morning, open up my journal, what three things are you grateful for? I'm grateful for the sun shining today. It's going to provide heat when you're out going out for a walk. It's just a simple gratitude, but uh, probably most of us probably take it for granted. And I'll just speak for myself when I say that. Um, but also, you know, having cold water coming out your cold water tap, fresh, clean water. You write
Yeah,
that down. It's
I
like,
was going to say, water's
you
a big
know,
thing. Yeah,
and
take that for
obviously that's
granted because you
a
need it.
big part of our day as well. Exactly. But the fact that it's clean and cold, and, it's refreshing. And there's two right away. And then, of course, you think of family, grateful for my family, and that's you. You're on a good footing right away, kind of thing. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's it. I mean, with gratitude, if you could really go deep with this. Obviously, I think some of my lists: your friends, your family, your job, your character, your possessions. But I think people is the big thing, isn't it? Because
yeah,
you need relationships.
yes,
With people. So never take anybody in your life for granted. And look after everybody and be grateful for everybody that you've got, and
yeah,
and they'll do the same for you.
yeah,
So yeah, so gratitude's a big thing. It's one of the most used things in personal development, because it's proven fact that it changes your energy, and if you're grateful every day for things.
yeah.
So just regarding the perspective thing, Alan, how much are you quite philosophical in life? Would that, you say, just ask this question back to yourself about things?
Aye. Well, I would say that I know that when I was, if I don't allow myself to go off too much on a tangent, um, when I was younger, people often referred to me as an old head and young shoulders.
Mm,
And it might have been because when I was 16, I stopped my subscription to Shoot magazine and I resubscribed to Understanding Human Behaviour. And I've got that every week for like a couple of years, and just because I was just fascinated by human relationships, and it's kind of been cyclical for me. And then so that was like obviously my mid to late teens, and then come round about 84, 85, I discovered the book Illusions by Richard Bach, I think it is, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And that book absolutely blew my mind. And it was probably my very first proper insight into thinking a bit deeper and
hmm
getting a better understanding about our thoughts and feelings and that kind of thing. And then fast forward again to 2005. Um, I had challenges in my life at that time, and actually have challenges in my life all the time, but at that time was a particularly big one. And I discovered Paul McKenna and his
mm
book Change Your Life in 7 Days. And he had a programming CD, and it came with that book.
mm
And again, it just took things up to another level. That was just fantastic. And then fast forward to 2014 when I
Yeah,
discovered MindStore. So that's kind of been my journey. You mentioned perspective there, and you also mentioned prior to that the challenging year we've all had. Um, Clearly, we all know people that have been affected by COVID, um, and obviously that's where the empathy comes in. And ultimately, what you and I have both learnt through the work that we do is that it's helping others. Ultimately, is what actually helps us in the
hmm
end, without us really looking for it. That's my belief, anyway.
yeah,
And one of the poignant things that I've learnt in the past year was actually from yourself, William, where you know understandably there's a lot of doom and gloom around the COVID situation, and I mean that understandably. But what was beautiful which you came out of, was whilst a lot of people might have found 2020 to be the worst year of your life, you had said it's the best year of your life because your
mm,
son was born. And
yeah,
I just thought, wow, that's perspective for me.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, thanks for that, Alan. I really appreciate you saying that. I mean, because like you say, I mean, it gave personally for our family, it just gave us a sort of just amazing moment through such a difficult time for everybody. So, because my son was born just a couple of weeks after the first lockdown, so we're into I think it was this time last year when it lockdown, the end of March, wasn't it?
Yep.
So my son was born in the middle of April, so second week in April, sorry. So it was yeah, so it was a challenging time. I wasn't sure if I would get in for the birth and things, and I managed to get in for the birth, which was incredible. It was just the
Yeah.
whole thing blew me away. But yeah, so thanks for touching on that. But I think it's just like you say. I mean, there's it's not just myself. A lot of people have had a baby over the last year, and I think it's like you say, it's been difficult because you can't really go and take them to the swimming or go to these sort of
Yeah.
baby groups and things like you would do toddler groups. My son's nearly one now, so it's like it's been toughness, to be honest. But as I say, I have to have the perspective and the outlook at, like, the family have got the rest of their life with them. There's close family have seen them, but a lot of my close friends and other family members like aunts and things have not seen them yet, which has been tough. But as I say, but yeah, you just kind of have to put things into perspective. If you can't get a holiday for a year, or you can't, go to cinema or do the normal things that you normally do on a weekly basis, we can just ride it out till we get back. And then I think people will just be so joyful. I think after all this, I
Yeah.
think you're going to get a change of energy in folk. As I say, because people, like, you take things for granted, like just meeting your friend for a coffee and a bite to eat or whatever.
I
Or
know. I know.
these simple things are going to be like monumental. So it's
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'm
so
missing
I think
hugs.
that's it. I
Yeah.
think you just
Yeah.
put. I think it's give people, like you say, as me and Alan have said in this podcast, keep the vision of having these relationships and interactions with people again, and just create goals for yourself. Anybody that's listening, just I know it is difficult, challenging times right now, but just create some goals for yourself for the rest of 2021 or into next year. Think to yourself exactly what you want to come of this. Use time to your advantage. If you've sort of got time at the moment, if you're off work or do other things, that time can be maybe the greatest time you ever have. So like you say, me and Alan have used it wisely to start this podcast. So it's like this sort of ripple effect. So hopefully, anybody that's listening, can get some insight or some sort of understanding of some of the things we're talking about here, and it can help you going forward.
That's brilliant, William. I've just to let the listeners know, we're working from a bullet list, and I've put mine above the monitor, but the bottom half has been obscured. So what we'll be talking about next, I can't see what we're talking about next. So what a balloon!
I think we just said we'll just do some open questions
Oh
between us,
yes, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, just about things that let's just talk about maybe things that the greatest moments of your life, or just anything that's happened since you've got involved in personal development. If anybody's listening that thinks, I want to get involved in, Mindstore or like I've done NLP or anything like that to try and, improve myself. So since you've been on this journey, Alan, what's the biggest thing that you've achieved, and you can put it down to everything that you've learned through this, whether it's Mindstore or anything regarding personal development?
yeah. For me, it's definitely been about keeping stress levels at bay.
Mm-hmm.
So in turn, that's made me a more positive person. So despite challenges that are there, I can still see goals being achieved. I can still see, okay, some of the goals I have are really massive, and I'm still on that journey. But at no time do I think, oh, this is not going to work, it's not going to happen, because I'm doing, not every day, but most days I'm doing my head to toe relaxation a couple of days a week, sorry, a couple of times a day, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And I can't emphasize enough what a difference that makes, because it becomes cumulative, so
Mm-hmm.
the energy you
Yeah.
get from doing that carries on to the next day. And you can actually feel it, you can sense, well, I'm feeling good, and I know that was because of yesterday. And then if you do the relaxation again, you feel even more energetic. And like I say, if you marry that up with, for example, programming your day, for me, confidence is a big thing for me when I turn up for work. And, and humour, it's like, and it makes the occasion enjoyable for me and the clients. And I think that's really important. And you want to feel good about what you do. And I feel that I've definitely achieved that through the work I do. And yeah,
Yeah.
you do read other books in addition to Mindstore. So again, they all intermingle with each other. And I know that the house I'm in just now was kind of programmed, from the moment I saw it to moving in only took a month. But the desire to acquire this place was like huge. And I went through the process of, printing out the images from, the online schedule, right down to creating a mock envelope with my name and address on the new property. And yeah, and in fact, there'll be some people that know this story, but basically what happened is at the end of one of our meetings in Mindstore, Tom gave us a goal setting exercise. And for some reason, I was being really anal, saying to myself in my head, I've set my goals, I don't need to set any goals, And then I had this loud voice in my head said, stop being an asshole and set a goal. So it was like, oh. So the idea was, what right now what would you benefit from? And for me, it was a house to be closer to my family. Without going into any detail, within a day, someone put me onto a house in the area that I'm now living in. I looked at the schedule, it was like absolutely perfect. A week later, I viewed it, and a few weeks later, I moved in, But I can't emphasize enough the desire and the intention that I had to get this place was like through the roof,
Yeah.
And I often have these little voices in my head that say, you need to do that more often, son, Because when I do apply myself to that extent, things just happen. So,
Yeah, I remember when you were at the monthly meetings and you came in and you were so detailed with it. I mean, I've never seen anything so detailed and focused. So we were all pretty impressed and blown away with that. Like you had so much detail in it, but that's what you've got to do, isn't it? I mean, if
yeah.
you've got to have that. I think something important that I've learned is a lot of people think they lack motivation, but what they really lack is clarity. I think I learned that.
Yeah,
Like you
that's
say, you
excellent.
had so much clarity there that you had motivation as well, but I think you had so much, you knew exactly what you wanted, and I think that's why a lot of people, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, for example, that they don't last because they say 90% of them don't last. It's because they'll feel motivated for a few days, but if they've not got clarity, if they've not think this is exactly what I'm going to do,
Yeah.
I'm going to hold myself accountable. I need to do this by this time frame. You're holding yourself accountable. I need to do this. Like you say, and nobody does it better than you, Alan. So you've obviously, programmed, had a goal to have your house. Did you have a date on it, or was it just a certain
Well, I kind of said within the month,
in the
and it
month? Oh
happened.
well,
So I left that meeting in the January of 2018, I think it was. Um, you know, Started off being resistant about setting a goal, and then getting that wake up call, and really applying myself to it. And in the February meeting, I remember showing Danielle an envelope from "Welcome to your new home" card, and bizarre, bizarre.
I know. No, listen, fantastic. It's yeah, as we say, you've kept the vision. You've done more than that. You had the intention, you had the desire, you had the purpose, but you had, as I mentioned, clarity, exactly what
Yes.
you wanted to do. I think
Yeah.
that's important for anybody listening that's want to set a goal, like I say, about the sort of clarity behind it and having a timeline and holding yourself accountable, because I think that's the thing. Everybody's got dreams. I think dreams are good, but if you put it into like a constructive goal, let's say I want to do this by this date, like we've done in Mind Store for years, then you're giving yourself a target, and
Hmm.
you're holding yourself accountable. I think that's important. And then what will happen is every day you'll have some kind of purpose because you're building up to what you want to do. So I think before you do that process, you just ask yourself, what do you really want? And then you figure that out. You figure yourself out first of all, I think, and then go for that. But then think the best of yourself. But sometimes if they set a goal too far away, like I said, I'm going to do this in 5 years' time. Try to think about something big in the shorter term. I think within the year, I think that'll kickstart you, because I think if you give yourself something in 5 years' time, take careers for example. Somebody wants to change their career in 5 years' time. Why not do it this year? Sort of
Yes.
thing. It can be done. There's no point you being miserable in a job if there's something out there for you, a better opportunity. You can make that happen, and there's all the resources out there to help you achieve that. So I know I'm getting off in one here with this, but I think it's
No.
that's the
Perfect.
that's the thing, I think, which is incredible. I think there's so many things on the internet you can just learn. So many people you can learn from. I think I learned something about turning your car into a sort of mobile library. That's kind of what my car's like, Alan. I sort of just
Okay.
listen to podcasts and audiobooks every day. And I know me and you love our music, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm having to ditch the classic rock and
Yeah.
put on the sort of podcasts and audiobooks just to get my mind working in different ways, because it automatically makes you feel good. But as we mentioned before, you've got to back that up by action. If
Yeah.
you listen to something and get inspired by it, then I think you've got to back that up. Like, you think, oh, I feel great, but then 10 minutes later, oh, that's away again. You've got to That's where ideas are important.
Yes.
And then you should say action. Um, so yeah, so hopefully somebody's got a bit of insight out of that. But no, listen, fantastic what you've done regarding you've used all these processes for stress management and to sort of manifest like the home, because your home environment's such a massive thing to your general well-being and your
Mhm.
how you are in your daily life if you're waking up comfortable every day. So you obviously, not saying you weren't comfortable before, but you're in a better place now
Yes.
than you were
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think one of the important things to mention is with all this work is to keep it fun as well. You know,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and I also think it's safe to say we're really have just skimmed the surface in this first episode, and I look forward to you know going into more detail with our tools and techniques in future episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more to talk about. So, um, yeah, so I think obviously just thanks for people for tuning in, and especially the Mind Store gang that knows well, or any family friends that are listening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll have some more great content for you in the next episode.
Fantastic. Well, William, I've thoroughly enjoyed our first podcast, episode 1 of Keep the Vision. And like William just said, thanks for tuning in, and a big hello to um, the Glasgow Mindstore group, but also my family and friends that I know are looking forward to listening to this episode too.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully, you're listening next time, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Take care.